Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Still the human tragedy of the blast in Tennessee at the Accurate Energetic System. If there was any light at the end of the tunnel or to find something positive in this tragedy, is that initially the reports were that there were 19 people missing. And since the initial blast at 07:45 hours on Friday, that's been reduced by 3 people. Based on the searches and the notifications and interactions with family members, law enforcement has been able to determine that there are in fact 16 people missing, 16 workers of Accurate Energetic Systems. It's still not great news, but it is three less people from the initial blast, and now it's been lowered from 18 to 16, so 2 less people. But this is a very close-knit community. People are really suffering over this tragedy. You can imagine that many people in this community depended on this way to make a living, Accurate Energetic Systems, which manufactured explosives, whether for demolition or for military purposes. And I would imagine, and not being versed in bomb squad work or that type of thing, I don't know a lot about explosives. There must be a huge amount of precautions taken when you work in a facility like this. There must be a huge checklist of things that will keep you safe, a checklist of safety regulations. Despite all of that, these munitions plants inevitably have accidents. And at this point, the authorities and the investigators, they're not saying how this happened. Was this an accident, or was this foul play? Was this a criminal act? They're not ready to say either right now. They haven't determined that. And when they said initially that they could be on the site for several days, they could be on the site for several weeks or several months to determine this. Nothing in investigation happens quickly. You want an accurate investigation, you want the truth, you want the real facts, you got to take your time. And you got to meticulously and methodically go over this site where you can see the wreckage of trucks and steel twisted on the ground. Now, how are they, you may ask, how are they going to find human remains among all of this seeming debris that was once the building that housed Accurate Energetic Systems, a company apparently that totals 80 employees. However, at the time of the blast, they initially thought there was anywhere from 19 to 20, and 19 to 20 were missing. It was apparently the change of shifts at 07:45 in the morning. So, as was reported here, initially they feared, well, the first day they feared there was 19 people. There's the thumbnail from that day in the Tennessee blast. And then it was amended to 18 were feared dead. And then yesterday, it was determined by Sheriff Chris Davis that, in fact, there were 16 people missing. And this was determined by investigation, notifications, personal property, vehicles on site, and, of course, interactions with the family members of those that are, in fact, missing. And those that perhaps, since the initial report, turned up, thus 2 less people missing in this incident. So we're going to go over, there was a press conference 8 or 10 hours ago. We're going to go over some of that. We're going to talk about how this affected the community and how this community and how this company moves forward after a horrific accident like this. So, folks, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your loved ones. Hold on to your cup of coffee. Hold on to your thoughts and prayers. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
You know, yesterday there was several press conferences. Some had some technical difficulties, so we didn't hear very clearly the sheriff and some of the speakers because the audio was garbled and not coming in clearly. Since then, there's been another press conference, and as I said in my opening monologue, the good news was what was reported, that there were 2 less people missing. They had now accounted for 2 people that they initially thought were missing. So I'm going to go to that press conference, and some of it, if you folks that have listened to this show and some of the news on this, some of it is a little bit redundant, but this sheriff, his name is Chris Davis. He's doing the very best he can under very trying circumstances. And how many police agencies have to investigate and mitigate and search an explosion site to recover friends in their own neighborhood, in their own community? And this sheriff is stuck with the task of this, and I'm sure he's up to it, and he's doing the best he can, but it's very emotional for him and the people that live in this community. I'm going to go to the press conference right now.
Today, as I spoke earlier today, about us not being able have notified all the families involved. I remember somebody on this side had asked me that question. I can tell you at this time, we have notified all 16 families of those people that we feel was involved in this situation, this tragedy. Now, you notice the number, there's a difference in the number there. We have been able to locate and determine those 2 other folks was not on this site. And I'll give you an example of some of the reasons that we've had this problem. Their vehicle and their personal items were found on the scene, and we were unable to locate. And we naturally didn't, again, in efforts to be transparent with you, and efforts to be very open about all this, that's at the time we've been able to decide and locate those other 2 individuals. So we can tell you as of right now, we have contacted all 16, and we'll call them victims, our loved ones, families that we feel was part of this tragedy. It saddens me. I'm very thankful that we have located the other 2. We've talked to several family members ourselves again today. For those of you that wasn't here this morning, our issue that we talked about earlier with the ordinance, it's went very well, and us being able to do that, it's just a perfect example of us having to slow down things and be more methodical. And as I explained to you earlier, we're literally having to clear foot by foot. And I'm literally meaning that as we take a step, if there's any kind of anything that we feel is in harm to any emergency or any LEO or anyone that's personnel or for lack of better words, bomb squad or bomb tech guys that's on this working this, we're feeling that we're having to clear it foot by foot, and that's what we're doing. Forgive me, I'm stuttering a little bit, I understand that, but I'm very tired along with everybody else behind me. Tomorrow's operation, now that we have the national ATF scene team here, we're going to be operating under some of the things to make sure their operations are safe and secure. We're going to be, our timelines of working are going to be more, less labor intensive, because they are under some strict or some really good stress on that. I'll let the ATF gentleman speak about that here in just a moment.
So you can see the amount of stress on Sheriff Chris Davis's face. You can hear it in his voice. It's not every day that something like this happens in a small community like this. As far as the search of the site, I mean, very dangerous. Could there still be unexploded munitions on that site? That's a distinct possibility, right? And the other part of that, which is the human part of that and the most horrific part of that, is that they're also looking for bodies and body parts. And what will come into play in this case, as it did, and I can compare on a small, this is a much smaller 9/11 type thing, but very similar to what was done there, is to recover the bodies or the body parts. So how do you train people, law enforcement personnel, to recognize body parts, perhaps that have been blown to bits? Because any piece of a body will be closure for the family so that they can bury and have a service for their loved one that lost their life in this horrific tragedy. So that has to be taken into consideration also. So what I understood is that I believe it was the ATF had these rapid DNA kits, or perhaps it was Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, so that on the scene they could identify body parts and identify, get a DNA profile, and then continue their investigation with that profile. Usually in these situations, they will ask the families to provide an exemplar, which may just be like a toothbrush, a hairbrush, clothing, that type of thing, that they'll be able to collect an exemplar of the DNA of the person who is missing and see if they can match it up to DNA that has been found on that scene. During 9/11, some families, buried fingers, buried pieces of bone. Uh, I don't want to get so graphic, but that's the reality of it. That may be all that is left. In 9/11, the famous medical examiner, Dr. Hirsch, uh, in his speech, in his talks across the world, lecturing on 9/11, explained to people that the reason almost, a great deal of the bodies were never found on the bombing of the World Trade Center and its ultimate collapse was that they were simply vaporized. And no one wants to hear that, especially if it's your loved one. My loved one was vaporized? What kind of language is that to use, doctor? And the doctor was just being sincere and scientific and putting it in the most humane way he could without beating around the bush. He giving it to the families in the realistic way. And you could see the strain and the pain on this sheriff's face as he explains part of this investigation to all of us waiting to hear what happened, because many of the people, I believe the sheriff said at least a dozen out of the 18 are friends of his. So you could see the strain and the pain on Sheriff Chris Davis's face as he gives this presentation.
Sure.
I think Sheriff Davis pretty much tells everything the best. But like I said, it's still a very active scene that we're working. We have had several calls for debris in different areas. So we are asking if you're in the area and do come across debris, you can contact Hickman County Sheriff's Office if you're in the Hickman County side, or Humphreys County Sheriff's Office as well, and we can send someone out to take care of that.
You want to give them your dispatch number?
Yeah, our dispatch number is 931-729-5146.
931 on the Humphreys County side, 931-296-7792.
Again, we appreciate everybody's support. The community has been just unbelievable in helping us get through this, and please, everybody, continue to pray for the families and friends of everybody that's involved in this, the first responders as well, and everybody continues to be working this scene. We're going to be here for several days.
If I may, I want to tell you about a couple other things that's going on. Excuse me, I'm trying. Our counties, both our counties, was hit pretty hard in 21. We've already taken plans to prepare to take care of our loved ones and our families even more. What I mean by that, both of our school systems, our school directors have already started preparing for counseling folks to come in Monday when school goes back, for not only family members, for folks that had the families involved in this, but for law enforcement and for emergency personnel as well. And we're going to be talking about that later in detail, but I think that shows or is a prime example of how we're trying to prepare every day and looking ahead to the future, not just today, but we are trying to support the folks that's up there, but we're also trying to support the rest of our community as we see them at large. Ma'am.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Sheriff. My name is Tyra Cunningham. I am the Assistant Special Agent in Charge with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives here in the Nashville Field Division. First and foremost, I want to, on behalf of ATF, give our condolences to the families affected by this tragedy, the community affected by this tragedy. ATF is here to support both county sheriffs in any way that we can. One of those ways is by the activation of the National Response Team, otherwise known as NRT, that the sheriff spoke about. This team is comprised of a bevy of professionals to
All right, she's obviously letting everyone know about the ATF is on the scene, what they're doing, what their function is. But I don't think we need to hear a litany of what they have and their personnel and all of that stuff. But very important, because the ATF, in fact, is going to be the lead investigative unit in regards to the munitions and the bomb part of this, because that's their expertise, and this takes a great deal of expertise in order to investigate this properly, to find out if this in fact was an accident or was there some sinister criminal act here. We don't know yet because it's too early. And the ATF and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, probably the state police, local police, they're all on the scene, working together as partners and trying to figure out what actually occurred here. And now a word from our sponsor. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? You must be 21 years or older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE New York or text Hope New York in New York. So, folks, this company, Accurate Energetic Systems, which manufactures explosives, both for the military and for private companies that are involved in demolition. This has to be a very dangerous job, which with very high level of security and safety protocols. But yet, even with all of that, they have had accidents in the past. I'm not going to go over their accident record, but just uh, realize that I think the employees must realize this also, and not that that makes it any easier when there is an accident like this at a location like this.
Area, and it's going to be hard for them, especially the families of the loved ones who know that right now some of those folks are missing and have to be accounted for.
Ryan, we do have one of the videos, or in-camera video. We've got it now. Why don't we play and you can talk about it?
And that's what I wanted people to hear. The explosion was so loud. You're talking about a rural area in Tennessee where basically there's a lot of woods in this area. It's a small community. They basically had to get a lot of help from outside agencies to come in initially. But that fire was so intense, and the secondary explosions that were happening, they had to stand back for a little while. Once again, we're hoping to get an update with how many people have been injured, unfortunately how many people have lost their lives, and how they move forward. But this is one of those devastating accidents that we also have to get to the bottom of, because so many people have been impacted in that community.
Indeed, and we'll hopefully hear in the next hour from first responders and, of course, the environmental concerns as well. That is another question to ask. Thank you very much. I know you'll stay across it, Ryan, as always. Thank you. And
this is from CNN. Ambulances on the scene, emergency workers, helicopters, precautionary. Maybe they will find someone in need of medical assistance. Someone has to be airlifted out of there rather quickly. Devastating incident for the entire community. I'm sure this will take weeks, months, and years to get over this small, tight-knit community. You could see how everyone has been affected. It's simply devastating to the community that this has occurred, and there's no easy way to explain it. There's absolutely no easy way to get through this. You just have to get through it, through the investigation, through the community supporting each other. That seems like the only way. So the families of 16 victims killed in this devastating Tennessee explosive plant blast have been notified of their loss as investigators methodically work to clear the scene and gather evidence to determine what caused the tragedy in this tight-knit community. In the coming days, authorities will slowly work their way through the debris-ridden plant foot by foot, ensuring each area of the site, approximately a half a square mile, is safe for those at the scene. Due to the constraints that we have here, we're literally having to take 1 foot at a time, said Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis. The early morning blast had accurate energetic systems reverberated across the surrounding community Friday, raising an entire building on the plant's sprawling campus and leading to a painstaking search that ultimately found no survivors. According to Sheriff Davis, they're moving to recovery. So no more. It became apparent, I think, very early on that this was not a rescue. This was going to be a straight out recovery. But it's difficult to switch from that word rescue to recovery, because recovery means now you're not going to recover anyone alive. And that's a very difficult word to tell family members. With this investigation very early on, it's difficult to tell, if not impossible, what happened here. What was the cause of this? Was this an accident? Was this something nefarious? Was this something safety-wise that could have been prevented? Every effort is going to be made to do a methodical, painstaking search through all of this, what's now debris, both to find evidence of what occurred here and to recover body parts of the loved ones from this community. And again, a lot of that will be determined by matching DNA exemplars submitted by the family to the police, to the investigators, and have it be matched up against DNA that has been recovered on the scene. And that is how many bodies were identified during 9/11 and are still being identified 24 years later from 9/11. So very sad. And we're going to keep following this, folks, as new information comes in by this investigation by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the local jurisdiction. And when we have new information, we'll certainly bring it to you on the screen. That's Sheriff Davis. You can see the devastation as I put the thumbnails up on the screen of where this building used to stand. And as I said, one of the most important things that I reported right at the top of this was that the initial amount of people that were reported missing was 19. Now, here we are on Sunday, and this occurred on Friday. It's been reduced to 16. So if there's any brightness to this story, is that 3 less people are missing and presumed and dead 3 days later, based upon the investigation of this case. So as we get new information, we will certainly bring it to you. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Bill Cannon. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share us with your friends and your family. Make lots of comments. It helps our show. It helps our algorithm, and you can join the Police Off the Cuff family. We have a Patreon with 4 different levels, and we also have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels, and you can join the Police Off the Cuff family if you join our YouTube channel. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.